today's tutorial, I'm going to take a bunch of loops, kick, snare, bass, hi-hat, and spice them up with some Ableton audio effects. The audio effects I'm going to be demonstrating today are the chorus audio effect, the erosion audio effect, DrumBuss, cabinet, and Redux. Let's start with the kick. Here I've got a chorus effect, so let's switch that on. So you can mess with lots of things in the chorus effect on the kick. You're not going to hear a lot until you start messing with the high pass, delay, and the feedback. So you can hear that it gets wider. In terms of a kick sound, it's getting wider. And you can hear the delay affecting the feedback. The high pass filter removes low frequencies from the delayed signal. So let's just keep pushing that up. Okay, so if you want that type of sound, go for it. But normally I like to have more low frequencies on my signal. And there's this thing called delay 2. So there's 3 methods of delay 2. There is the fix, where only the time gets modulated. And mod just gives you the same amount of modulation of the frequencies as delay 1. You can link them by clicking this button here, so that moves them exactly in the same position, or just separate them. And you'll notice that my dry wet is very low because chorus has a very extreme effect. So if we just bring the dry wet up, let's bring this down a bit. It can make quite a big difference to the sound. So you're probably thinking, who needs chorus for a kick? Because I can get the kick sound by just looking at my sample library. Actually, really with chorus you can get a very accurate type of sound. If you're looking for a more of a tighter sound, you can reduce the delay. And you can affect the dry, you can change the dry wet as needed to get the effect that you need. Similarly with feedback, this really just determines how much of the output signal feeds back into the input. And the polarity, you can only really hear polarity when the delay and feedback are very high. So let's put them high so you can hear it. That's a negative polarity. That's a positive polarity. So that's chorus. So chorus can be very useful. Now I'm going to show you erosion. Erosion is very useful if you want to add a little bit, just a touch of high frequency to your bass, to your kick sound. You can drag this to a really high level, or just bring it down a notch so you could just only barely hear it. And the type of sound, there's 3 types of sounds. There's noise, which is what we're hearing now. White noise, which is more of a stereo sounding noise, which may or may not work in your mix depending on what you want to get out of the mix. And sine, which is more of a linear signal. I actually like noise, and just adding a little bit of noise to the high end can sometimes really just give you a lot more than what you need, a lot more than what you thought you're going to get from your bass sound. So just listen to it with the erosion and without. Okay, it's pretty flat. You add a bit of erosion, you've got that touch of high end. So the next one is DrumBuss. Obviously DrumBuss is made for drums, but there are a couple of settings in DrumBuss that I want to show you for the kick. So if we just default this to soft, unclick compressor, so one of the effects that I like is the transient. So this just emphasizes the transient high frequencies on the kick. So if you want a bit of a tighter kick, bring the transient up. If you want to flatten it, bring it down. Okay, and then you've got these different settings. You've got drive, it's kind of like a volume knob. Medium. This just this is the level of distortion of the signal, and you can click on hard of the high transient, and that really give you a jolting kick sound. So you've got lots of options for your kick. You can add compression. It's just a fixed compression, nothing special about it. The other two things that you can add are boom, which is, some people like that on their kick. Boom, boom, hear that? And finally crunch, which is kind of like just a really sharp distortion of the high end frequency. This affects the decay rate of the frequencies. This is the decay. And obviously you've got the dry wet, sorry, that's the output, the dry wet signal here. So if you like a sound but you're not sure completely how much to affect, you can just mess with the dry wet. Just add a little bit of the sound. So that's DrumBuss, could be really useful for kick. Now the two nicest ones coming are Cabinet and Redux. So I'll just show you Cabinet. So Cabinet basically mimics what a microphone does. So here you've got a cabinet with a single 12-inch speaker, and then you've got a cabinet with two 12-inch speakers. Okay, and then you could just keep going. A cabinet, four cabinets of 12-inch speakers. And then you've got the dynamic or condenser microphone that you can model your sound on. And you've got dual, which is stereo, and mono outputs. So you're probably thinking, so what? Well, actually, with a condenser, you may want to click near on axis. You want to model the type of microphone that you would add to a kick drum, but actually that you'll put next to a kick drum, sorry, when you're recording a kick drum. Or you can model it to be on a dynamic microphone that's far away from the kick drum. Once again, it depends on the type of sound that you want. But if you bring the dry wet down on the dynamic mic, actually, I really like that sound. And you can combine dynamic mic with erosion. You get a really tight sounding kick. So lastly, we've got Redux. Redux is a very harsh bit reduction. It crushes the sound. So let's switch off that top bit there, and the down sampling literally reduces the bit sample size. So hard is a very noticeable sort of hard sound. I don't like that very much, but I like soft. It's just a softer touch sound. So this can add some high end as well. Just need to add a little bit. And similarly, the bit reduction, it just sets the bit depth. So you can really crush. You really crush the sound, but you don't want that. You just want just a little bit of crushing. So you just add that together with the erosion. DrumBuss, not too much crunch. And chorus, not too much feedback. You can get yourself quite a nice kick sound. So that's enough for kick. So let's go to snare. Let's get the kick and the snare going together. Just going to reduce the sound here of the snare just a bit. So similarly, we've got the same effects. We've got chorus, erosion, drum, cabinet, and Redux. So you can really hear the effects on the snare. Let's give that a go. Especially when you use the chorus. And we can really increase the modulation can really increase that sort of sound, or improve the sound dramatically. So we just reduce the high pass. So you notice the dry wet is quite low for a chorus. And you can just mess around with the modulation, see where you get a sweet spot in terms of the sound. So that's quite nice for a chorus effect on the snares. So let's just hear it without the chorus effect. And let's go into erosion. So just like the kick, the erosion is really good for adding just a touch of high end if you need it. You don't need to do it with an EQ, you can use the erosion. And instead of noise, you can use white noise or sine for snare, because you want a decent stereo signal. But listen to that on the white noise. You don't want too much, but you can really get a fantastic sound there, and similar with sine. I like the white noise. If you combine it with chorus, you can get some pretty amazing snare sounds. Okay, so that's chorus, that's erosion. Now obviously we can use DrumBuss, and similarly with the kick you can go mental with the transients. So start from just a soft beginning with 0 transient. Let's increase the transient. Let's increase the crunch a bit. Damp. So I think erosion and chorus work better than DrumBuss. DrumBuss is very useful, but that's not really needed. Listen to that beautiful clean sound. So just chorus and erosion together just work so beautifully with the snare. And this is before I've done any EQ, compression, put any reverb on it. I mean, it's just Very, very nice sound. So let's see what a cabinet sound, what type of dynamic that adds to the snare. So this just really controls the sort of modeling you would have on your microphone. So combine that with the chorus and the erosion. It can be very useful as well. Finally, we've got Redux. Once again, Redux is just a very harsh, high-end bit crusher. Just use a little bit of that bit crusher to get the sound you want. You can put it at the beginning of the signal as well. But my favorite are these two combined, chorus and erosion. So let's just move now to the bass signal. So the bass signal, we've got exactly the same effects. Let's just hear what it sounds like without the effects. So we want to get the most out of the high end as well as really getting that punchy bass sound. So let's listen to it with the chorus. Just messing with the modulation, already the sound is more interesting. So this delay too just fixes the modulation high pass. And actually that sounds really cool. So reduce the feedback, increase the dry wet, gives it a very, very static sound. Increase the feedback, gives it a bit of a distorted sound. But then you can mess with the dry wet as you need and the polarity. Okay, so that's a pretty cool a technique to get some wideness in your bass. And this is just a standard loop that I've just picked from one of the sample packs. So similarly with the snare, the chorus and the erosion work really well together, but let's just see what we can do with erosion here. So you can go through the frequency register from the lowest frequencies to the highest frequencies and just add a bit of distortion in a very pinpointed area. Okay. Once again, white noise I think works better. You can also use sine. So you could just imagine mixing a song, having such control over where you distort the signal in the frequency really is a very powerful thing. Because you just literally enhance the area that you want to stand out. Okay, so let's go to DrumBuss. Now DrumBuss isn't going to work very well with the bass because it's for drums, but let's see what we can do with DrumBuss. DrumBuss can be used on any track. It doesn't have to be for drums, but yeah, let's see what happens when you use DrumBuss. So immediately the transients, you push them up, and they're really, actually that adds some life to the bass. So just listen to that with the erosion together. The problem is transients, the extra transient kind of makes the erosion signal a bit too loud. The boom works on the bass. So overall, there's some interesting things you can do with the DrumBuss signal. Similarly with a cabinet. Let's try the bass preset. So if you reduce the dry wet, you do get some really nice type of boxy effect, which is really good for this. Actually, the erosion doesn't need cabinet. Erosion is just amazing. If you put cabinet and erosion together, I don't think they sound good. I think one would sound good by itself, so does the other, but not together. Finally, we have Redux. And this one is a very, very, very good effect. Because it just gives you that touch, that extra touch of high frequency that really adds some value to this loop. Awesome. So that's your bass. Now finally we've got our hats. So similarly with the other tracks that we just heard, you can get some, let's just listen to the hats anyway without any effects, but you can get some improved sound with the effects. Let's add a chorus. That's not your normal hi-hats, that's with a bit of extra love. So there you go, so you've got all of the tracks now affected with either one of the chorus, erosion, DrumBuss, cabinet or Redux effects. So we can now bypass all of the effects and just hear what it sounds like without the effects. Not so good, but with the effects, much better. So that's the end of the tutorial. I hope you found it useful. I know I did, and I've actually got some more ideas for my next songs now just by giving you this tutorial. One thing I have discovered is I really love the Erosion audio effect. I mean, I just think it's so simple yet so powerful, and it adds so much to your snares, the kicks, and particularly the bass sound. It really fattens it up. So yeah, any questions, any comments, please feel free to add them to this YouTube video. So that is all for me. Sayonara and hasta luego. Until next time, see you later.